I guess I've always, since very little, I always wanted to make movies. And people laughing at me because it's not easy to make one. Picking Ciego was, actually, I've always thrown ideas out to my boss, Dan, the other producer, and always trying to come up with ideas, and usually my ideas come from dreams.
My role in Ciego was one of a producer. I helped supply some of the equipment that we use to shoot and edit the film. And I also had various other roles as camera operator and some assistant producer type roles.
My role in the movie is I'm the assistant director of Ciego.
I'm Daniel Channel. I signed on first to write, and then I decided I wanted to do more. So along with being the assistant writer, I did camera work, production work, pretty much whatever Ruben wanted me to do, I did it.
Seeing Ruben several times a week in the office, I get to hear all his wild stories and his great ideas. And one day he came to me and said, "Dan, let's produce a movie."
My biggest challenge was that I'm a very visual person, so I wanted a lot of visual effects, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get them like with computer graphics or anything. So I knew I was going to do photography tricks, like the scene with the devil, and we just split the screen. Simple trick, and a lot of people till this day ask me, "How did you do it?"
Working around the budget of Ciego was a challenge. Only having about $10,000 to make a feature-length film can really be interesting at times.
How can we do this? And usually a dollar amount would come up. So I had to scratch that idea out, and we went more the artsy way.
Challenges were definitely just casting, because the whole Leah part was just insane. We had so many people audition for that one. But then other than that, it was just scheduling conflicts.
We also used relatives. For example, my son Kyle plays Ruben as a little boy.
I'm gonna hit the camera.
You're okay.
Ready? You're just gonna catch it with your hands right there, right?
Don't jump.
No, just catch it in your hands.
Ready?
The story of Ciego is interesting, even more so because it's a true story. And it's fascinating how Ruben was able to battle with his blindness and overcome it eventually.
Also, just the fact that it's a really good story, because it's like a good versus bad kind of overcoming yourself. It's like internal conflict on film.
The message of the movie, in a small nutshell, is kind of you can do what you put your mind to. When you are down by whatever you are, as long as you have faith and maybe a little bit of help, you can do what you want to accomplish.
You just still have to work a little bit harder. You just will have to work a little bit harder.
When Ruben first came to me and said, "Dan, I want to shoot in Mexico," I said, "Why?" And then he explained to me the location and the visions he had, and I thought about it, and I said, you know what? It's probably not a bad idea to have a secondary unit to be able to shoot for our first film. It just kind of adds a little bit of a different element than you usually get in your no-budget independent film.
Mexico was awesome. It was great scenery, really easy to shoot because everything looked good, lighting was great. I mean, we didn't have to like deal with all the touristy stuff when we did the beach scenes. It was nice.
Filming in Mexico, a lot of people say, "Why don't you film in a beach here or something?" And like Dan and I, we talked about it. It was like, well, Mexico is Mexico. You can't, we know it was a low budget, so if we're gonna go that way, we might as well give you what we could. So we went ahead and we went to Mexico, and even though the scenes are very, they are very short, I always wanted that in the movie to give it that true feel of what the character was going through. And it was a lot of fun filming in Mexico, going through customs with all this equipment, and we had 6 days, and we had to film nonstop. And of course, we had to problem solve. Our car rental broke down the day that we were going to go film on the mountain, so we had to scramble to get a car. And then the next day we had to go to the beach, and we couldn't get a car. Once we did, we had to rush because we had to film the sunset scene, which is at the very end, towards the very end of the movie. And we pretty much got there, and we're all hungry, it's hot, and just set up and start rolling. So the Mexico was a lot of filming back to back, and it was intense, but it was a lot of fun. My crew and everyone got to see more of the real world of the character, what he would see in his blindness. So they got a little bit more personal side of the story.
The first night was the biggest challenge, was just trying to get everything shot before we lost our light. And then trying to keep sand out of all the equipment was always the hard thing. That's the thing about beaches, sand gets everywhere.
Filming at the beach was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. It was a beautiful beach. It was difficult at times keeping the camera safe from the sand and the extreme heat.
Climbing the mountain was awesome.
The mountain was difficult to shoot, but very rewarding at the top. We actually had to carry all the film equipment, including the cameras and necessary accessories.
It was all cool until we had to shimmy up the little hole onto the tree root.
On the way up, we encountered extreme heat, rain, and difficult situations, narrow crevasses, and steep inclines that at times were questionably dangerous. But getting to the top of the mountain was extremely worthwhile, and I think, as you can see in the film, the shots we were able to gather there were incredible.
Being with Ruben as he did his first film, I think it was, one, for me, an eye-opener. I'd been involved in some smaller roles in different independent films, but never as involved as this one. I think seeing Ruben take his dream and actually put it onto a big screen was just amazing.
I was really satisfied to see at the premiere that most of the audience had a very positive reaction, and a lot of them, you could tell, were deeply moved by the film. They felt a real connection to the characters and to the film beyond just your typical going to the movies. You watch a series of events happen to certain people that you don't care about, and you can forget as soon as you leave the theater. I think a lot of people left the theater wondering more about Ruben's life and what happened before and after, and even during the events that are shown in the movie.
Oh, I thought it was so awesome that we got to go and sit in like the theater and watch it, and that I finally got to see the completed project of what we'd been working on for so long.
Premiere night was very interesting. I didn't know what to expect when we were going there. And once we got there, and the people just kept coming and coming and coming.
Most of the people that I talked to after the premiere, they thought it was great because, I mean, they were like, how could somebody throw all that together on so little of a budget?
I don't think throughout the whole movie there was any sound that was other than reacting to the movie, which is pretty amazing for a theater that full. In general, I think the reaction was just wonderful. Everyone loved it. Everyone had lots of questions, and how did you do that? And I can't believe you did it that way, and it's so great, and it was nice to get those reactions.
Watching on the big screen was like a dream come true, because it's having a full house at the theater, and you know, it just makes it official, even though I already knew it was done, because you know, like I did the editing, and so I packaged the movie, and so I knew it was done. But once it was on the big screen, it came out looking the way I wanted it to look. And actually, and the people that didn't go to the theater, I wish they can see it in the theater, because it's a whole different experience watching Ciego on the big screen.